Ever wish you could, like, transform all that time you spend scrolling through social media into something, actually productive?
Yeah.
Maybe even, like, use it to boost your English skills.
It's funny you should mention that because we've been looking into some research on exactly that.
Okay.
How to use social media to become more fluent in English.
So we're not talking about, like, just passively scrolling through your feed, right?
Not at all.
This is about actually using platforms like Instagram or TikTok to actually make some real progress.
Right.
Okay.
It's kind of like how, everyone has access to all this language learning stuff online now.
Right.
But this research is more focused, like how can we actually use it well?
I like that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the strategies they talk about?
Well, they highlight a bunch of different platforms, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But what I find really interesting is how they connect the platform to different learning styles.
Oh, cool.
So it's not just like, here's a list of apps, go learn.
Right, because everyone learns a bit differently.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so walk me through it.
Okay, so let's start with Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Which, is obviously a very visual platform.
Tons of pictures and videos.
Exactly. So the guide focuses on leaning into that. It's like following accounts that use that visual element well.
So like what, instead of just saying, go follow these accounts?
Right. So, for example, one they recommend is English with Lucy.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her.
She's great, and she often incorporates like props and visual aids into her lessons.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's not just her talking to the camera.
Yeah.
She's demonstrating things visually, which helps a lot of people.
Like a picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say.
Exactly. Then you have accounts like BBC Learning English.
Okay.
And they're known for a more structured approach. Like they'll do grammar lessons and have little quizzes you can take.
So it's more appealing to people who like that clear structure.
Right, exactly. And Instagram also has that more interactive side.
Oh, right, with the stories and stuff.
Yeah, so the research also talks about how to use polls and quizzes and those Q&A things.
To learn English.
Yeah. Like imagine instead of just doing a grammar exercise in a book,
right,
you're on Instagram answering questions, getting that instant feedback.
Okay, that does sound a bit more fun than a textbook.
Right.
Yeah.
And it plays into that whole instant feedback loop that social media is so good at.
Interesting.
So it's all about, using the platform's natural strengths.
I like it.
And then there's TikTok, which is a totally different beast.
Yeah, TikTok is something else.
Totally.
I mean, when I think of TikTok, I think of those dance challenges and, just funny videos, not really English learning.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, actually.
So.
Because it doesn't feel like studying.
Okay.
It's fun, so you're more likely to engage with it.
That's true.
And you're learning without even realizing it sometimes.
So, like, how does the research say to use TikTok?
Well, they emphasize active participation. So, like, following creators who use humor or music to teach English, idioms, slang, that kind of stuff.
So it's more about finding the creators who make it fun and engaging.
Yes. And they also talk about, like, pronunciation challenges.
Oh, right. Those are popular.
Yeah, and they can be really effective.
Because you're actually, like, saying the words out loud.
Exactly.
Which I imagine, that's super important for pronunciation.
Totally. And they say even creating your own content can be really good.
Like, even if you're not good.
Yeah. Because it forces you to use what you're learning.
That's a good point.
Plus, you get feedback, even if it's just likes or comments.
It's still more interactive than just, doing an exercise in a workbook.
Exactly.
So we've got Instagram, which is very visual, and TikTok, which is all about, like, challenges and having fun.
Right.
But what about people who learn best with more traditional methods?
Yeah, good question.
Like, what about people who like things explained clearly?
Right. They need more structure.
Yeah, exactly. Where do they fit into all this social media stuff?
Well, that's where YouTube comes in.
YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube has something for everyone, but it's great for those learners who really value that structured learning.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it can be like a more traditional classroom setting.
So, like, how do they suggest using YouTube specifically for English?
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
It's more than just watching any English video, of course.
Right.
They suggest looking for specific channels, English with Jennifer is a popular one.
Okay.
She does really thorough grammar lessons, very well explained.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then there's Speak English with Vanessa, which is more focused on like actual conversations.
So like everyday English.
Right, exactly. So those channels, they're like having a virtual classroom.
I like that.
It's not just random videos. There's a structure there.
Which I imagine is really reassuring for some people.
Right.
But what about things like pronunciation?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something that's hard to get from just watching a video.
You're right. And the research actually addresses that directly.
Oh, good.
They talk about this technique called shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah. Have you heard of it?
I think so, but remind me.
Basically, you find a video with really clear audio, like a TED Talk or something.
Okay.
And you try to copy the way the speaker is talking.
Oh, right. Like mimicking them.
Exactly. You're trying to match their pronunciation, their intonation, everything.
So it's almost like having a pronunciation coach.
Yeah.
But on YouTube.
Exactly. And it's really effective. People use it all the time.
Interesting.
It shows how important that audiovisual input is, especially for things like pronunciation, which can be tough to learn from a textbook.
Right, right.
So we've talked about Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there's one more platform they recommend.
Wait, really? What else is there?
Facebook.
Facebook. Seriously?
I know, right?
I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's huge, but I wouldn't have thought of it for language learning.
Right. But when you think about it, Facebook has always been about connecting with people.
Yeah.
And what better way to learn a language than by actually using it with other people?
True.
So it's about tapping into that community aspect.
Okay, I get it, but how?
Well, the research mentions a few things. First, joining language learning groups.
Oh, like Facebook groups?
Yeah, there are tons of them.
Okay.
And they're full of people from all over the world who are all trying to learn English.
Cool.
So it's a really supportive environment to practice and ask questions.
Like a global study group, basically.
Exactly. And then they talk about Facebook Live.
Oh, interesting.
You could join a live session with an English teacher, for example,
Wow.
or even just a language exchange partner.
So you can practice your speaking in real time.
Exactly.
Huh. I have to admit, I kind of wrote off Facebook.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see how it could be useful.
It's about looking beyond, like, the reputation, I guess.
Right.
Because at its core, Facebook is about connection and communication. And those are obviously essential for learning a language.
So we've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, even Facebook.
A lot of options.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it that we have all these tools.
Totally.
But just knowing about them isn't really enough, is it?
No, you're absolutely right.
Like, how do we make sure we're actually using these platforms effectively?
Yeah, you've hit on a really important point.
Because it's easy to get distracted, right?
So easy.
Like you open Instagram to practice your English, and then 3 hours later.
Exactly. So this research, it goes beyond just telling you where to go.
Okay.
They emphasize having a strategy.
Okay, I like that.
Because otherwise, it's easy to just scroll mindlessly.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we be more strategic?
Well, it starts with setting clear goals.
Okay.
Like, what do you actually want to achieve?
What?
Do you want to learn more vocabulary?
Right.
Improve your listening? Become more confident speaking?
Right, have that goal in mind.
Exactly. Because if you don't know what you want to achieve,
Yeah.
it's easy to waste time.
Total.
So set those goals and then create a schedule.
A schedule.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy, even just 15 minutes a day
Okay.
can make a big difference over time.
Consistency is key.
Exactly. And then don't be afraid to mix things up.
What do you mean?
Like, don't just do the same thing every day.
Oh.
One day, watch a YouTube grammar lesson. The next day, join a Facebook group discussion.
Oh, I like that.
Then do a quick vocabulary quiz on Instagram.
It's like cross-training for your brain.
That's a great way to put it.
Keeps things interesting.
Exactly. It helps prevent boredom and burnout.
Makes sense.
And then finally, remember that feedback is your friend.
Oh, right, like don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. Participate in discussions, even if you're nervous.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's good advice for, well, anything in life, really.
It's true. And social media is actually a pretty low-stakes environment to practice.
That's a good point.
It's not like you're giving a big presentation or anything.
No one's judging too harshly.
Exactly. So yeah, embrace the process, make mistakes, learn from them.
This has been really eye-opening. I had no idea social media could be so helpful for language learning.
It's easy to dismiss it as just a distraction.
Right.
But with the right approach, it can be a really powerful tool.
I like that, a powerful tool.
Yeah, for connection, engagement, and ultimately fluency.
So if you're listening to this and you want to improve your English,
Yeah.
don't underestimate that little device in your pocket.
It's true.
Find what works for you, stick with it, and have fun.
Definitely.
And hey, if you see me attempting a TikTok dance challenge in the name of English learning, just be kind.
I'm sure it'll be very entertaining.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Okay.
Until next time, happy learning.